A Fulton County, Georgia grand jury has been investigating whether or not there was criminal meddling into Georgia's 2020 elections as Trump and his allies were essentially encouraging election officials in the state to just find ballots that would help make all the difference for Donald Trump. Now, as a result of that investigation, they have just subpoenaed various Trump allies, including Rudy Giuliani, Senator Lindsey Graham, and John Eastman, Trump's lawyer, who had pushed this ridiculous, bogus political theory of implementing sham electors to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Now, other former Trump lawyers subpoenaed include Cleta Mitchell, Kenneth Chesebro, and Jenna Ellis. Now, the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, launched the criminal probe into Georgia's elections in February of 2021. Here's what we know so far. The investigation is focused on efforts by Trump and his allies to pressure Georgia election officials to decertify the election result and even find Trump votes so that he can win the state in the 2020 presidential election. In fact, there is already some significant evidence that is incriminating for Trump. In fact, he was caught on tape January 2nd of 2021, pressuring Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find him 11,780 votes so that he could win the state, a conversation that the Secretary of State later described as threatening. Now, here's why this is bad news for Trump and his cronies. Giuliani and Eastman have already testified in certain ways. Like Giuliani testified before Georgia legislators in late 2020, showing edited surveillance video of ballots being tabulated at Atlanta's State Farm Arena. The former New York City mayor said the tape was a powerful smoking gun of election workers pulling out suitcases of ballots to count after sending Republican poll watchers home. Again, that was an edited video and proved nothing. Eastman had also testified at the same Georgia hearing as Giuliani, during which he argued there was, quote, more than enough evidence of fraud and improper conduct to warrant Georgia lawmakers picking an alternative slate of presidential electors. So Cenk, I mean, look, there's already pretty incriminating evidence working against them, but they've now been subpoenaed by this grand jury. So we'll see how it plays out.
No, guys, this is actually super hopeful. Wait, why do I say that? I've been telling you all this time. There's no way the Democrats are gonna prosecute Donald Trump. They're way too weak. They're way too scared, way too complicit. They're not gonna do a goddamn thing, right? Oh, these aren't Democrats. These are Republicans. It's Republicans in Georgia that are looking to indict Trump. So they might actually get him. Now look, that's a really damning indictment of the Democratic Party, that the Republicans are actually strong, and some of the time they will actually do the things that they say they're gonna do, and we all kind of know that, right? But since it's Republicans he pissed off in Georgia, and Republicans who are defying him in Georgia, and by the way, he just got killed in the Georgia elections. Everyone that he supported lost by like 40 points. So Georgia Republicans will be like, oh, you're coming for us. No, you made a mistake. We're not Democrats, we're Republicans. We'll come for you.
Yeah, it's actually kind of shocking and impressive that Georgia voters aren't insane.
No, it is. It's actually,
like,
Georgia's an amazing case.
How did this happen?
I halfway know how it happened, but it is super interesting because every other state kisses Trump's ass like crazy, the red states. And all their politicians are like, oh, Trump, I'll do anything. Please take my wife, right? And we show you the beta bus all the time with Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz driving, but you can see almost all of the Republican politicians there. But in Georgia, Raffensperger and Kemp were like, no, we're not gonna break the law. No, you didn't win the election. We counted 3 times, we did a hand recount. No, you're lying, right? And then they go to vote, and Raffensperger and Kemp win easily. And part of the reason was because Republican voters don't want Stacey Abrams to win. And they're worried that if they pick the lunatic that Trump wanted, that Stacey Abrams would win. So there's a little bit of realpolitik there, right? But even now, Herschel Walker, who did win, who was supported by Donald Trump, he's losing by 10 points. He lost his lead, and now he's way behind. Why? Because people saw he's a total moron. He spoke 2 sentences And some Republicans in Georgia were like, no, I'm not voting for that idiot. I'll vote for Reverend Warnock from Martin Luther King's church instead. So Republicans in Georgia apparently are the only politicians with balls in the whole country.
And it's incredible to see what the result is when you show courage and you don't let the bully you, right? Yeah. If you stand your ground and show strength in the face of pressure and intimidation tactics by Donald Trump and his cronies, that might actually really appeal to Republican voters.
Yeah, by the way, to be fair and accurate, the Democrats in Georgia are also strong. Stacey Abrams is super strong. Do you know that Rashad Richey used to run the Democratic Party in Georgia? Okay, he's the host of Indisputable now for the TYT Network. No, there's some real strength in Georgia, and it is, since we're used to the mushes and the cowards in the rest of the country in both parties, it's a bit shocking. So if you said to me, who's gonna hold Trump accountable? I would say your only shot is in Georgia. And so it's unbelievable, that's where we are today. But he better be worried, because they're not gonna stop, and they actually care to enforce the law there.
I mean, and they have subpoenaed Senator Lindsey Graham. Graham also separately called Raffensperger and his staff twice in the weeks following the November 2020 elections about re-examining certain absentee ballots cast in Georgia in order to explore the possibility of a more favorable outcome for Trump. And so that's a United States senator who decided to meddle in all of this in an effort to, yes, kiss up to Donald Trump, but why? Why did he kiss up to Donald Trump, even after all the negative things he said about Trump during the 2016 Republican primary? Because he wanted to be relevant, he wanted to stay relevant. He said as much during his interview with the New York Times podcast, The Daily, which I can't get over because he was just so candid about that. Well, now you're real relevant, especially when it comes to this investigation. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, if they get indicted in Georgia, both Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump,
delicious.
That actually could be real trouble for them, because then they can't say, oh, deep state, Democrats, this is political. No, it's Republicans prosecuting you.
Yep.
And they're not scared, and that's the most important thing in the world. If it was a Democrat, he'd already be using depends. So, I mean, the Manhattan DA wet himself 17 times and then let Trump go. So that's Democrats for you.
Yep.
So damned if you do, damned if you don't, unless you live in Georgia.